The Conservative Party coming out on top in Germany's snap election, defeating the Social Democrats, who came in third. Surging to second place, the alternative far right, the strongest finish for the party since World War II. Issues at the forefront: immigration, the economy, and the United States. Conservative leader Friedrich Merz now on track to become chancellor and stressing a need for German independence from America.
My absolute priority will be to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible, so that step by step we can really achieve independence from the United States. But at the very least, after Donald Trump's statements last week, it is clear that the Americans, at least this part of the Americans in this administration, are largely indifferent to the fate of Europe.
CNN's Melissa Bell joins us live now from Berlin. Melissa, you have said that this incoming chancellor wants to put together a governing coalition by Easter. How likely is that?
Looking increasingly likely. We understand that he spoke with his potential coalition partners, the SPD, last night. That's according to German media. And just picking up from what Friedrich Merz, the likely next Chancellor of Germany, was just saying there, Kayla, there is this sense of urgency for Europeans. Remember that Germany is Europe's largest economy. It is also a powerhouse of the European Union politically. And as he pointed out last night at his victory speech, because, of course, his party came first, even though that doesn't automatically make him the next Chancellor, there are now discussions to form a coalition. It is because of the stance of the American administration that the world, he said, will not wait for us. And German politics has this tradition of functioning relatively slowly. There is this inherent stability in the system. Coalition talks can take some time. He announced that he believed a coalition could be found by Easter, and what we understand this morning from looking again at the results, the fact that two parties have been excluded from the parliament because they did not meet that 5% bar of the vote. The reshuffling of the parliamentary seats means that it looks as though the CDU and the SPD have the seats they need to form a two-party coalition, which is likely to prove much more stable than the three-party coalition that collapsed at the end of last year, Kayla.
Melissa, the surge in popularity among the far-right party is something that President Trump has been celebrating, suggesting it's a global shift toward a more conservative ideology, and even drawing some parallels between Germany and the United States. Is that how you see it across the Atlantic?
There is definitely something that's happened here in this political cycle in Germany that is reflected in other European countries as well. And that is a surge in parties representing the far right that tend to be Eurosceptic, that tend to want to end aid to Ukraine. It is the case of the AfD here in Germany, that are much more aligned with the policies of the current American administration. And they are making extraordinary headway. The AfD doubled its score on the last elections. It believes, and Elon Musk has just congratulated it, tweeting in this sense as well, that the one to keep an eye on will be the next federal elections in 4 years' time. The AfD believes that they can continue building on that support they have, specifically in the parts of the former East Germany, where there is a great deal of disaffection about the state of the economy and a great deal of concern about immigration policy. And I think one of the most interesting things you've seen this campaign is the whole of the political spectrum here in Germany move to the right on those questions of immigration, not least the CDU, the Christian Democrats, that are likely to be able to name the next chancellor in the shape of Friedrich Merz. Kyla.
Melissa Bell in Berlin. Melissa, thank you.
The head of Germany's opposition Conservatives says his absolute priority is to strengthen Europe and achieve independence from the United States. That pledge from Friedrich Merz comes as preliminary results show the centre-right leader is on track to become Germany's next chancellor. Sunday's vote also saw a strong second-place showing for the far-right Alternative for Germany party, followed by Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats in third. The AfD leaders say their performance in this election means they are the party of the future and cannot be ignored. Joining me now from Germany is Deborah Cole, Berlin correspondent for The Guardian. And you know, the far right isn't right. If we just take a look at their numbers, it's been an absolute surge, and they now have a really strong position in Parliament and will have an effect on policy that way, even if they don't make the government.
That's right. I mean, they are the strongest opposition party. The AfD had a historic night. They doubled their support compared to the last election in 2021. So this firewall that you might have heard about that bars cooperation by the mainstream parties with the AfD is going to come under massive pressure in the coming years.
How did they do it? I mean, what's your understanding, having reported on the election, having spoken to people? What is resonating about the far right? Because I know, obviously, economy was a huge issue here, also immigration. Do they just speak better to those issues than the left, for example?
Well, they're a party of anger. They're a party of, of protest. When it comes to their economic plans, very few voters cite anything that they, would choose to do as being something that would be likely to help Europe's top economy get back on its feet. The real issue, and they managed to completely harness the debate and really, call the tune for the other parties, was on immigration. And during this campaign, you saw a series of deadly attacks, seemingly unconnected attacks that were blamed on migrants, where the suspects in each case were asylum seekers who had come to Germany in the last years and become radicalized on German soil, as it seems. And that really spooked a lot of German voters. It was a scary time for a lot of people, and the AfD apparently for some voters, for 20% of voters, made the case that under a government led by them, this wouldn't have happened.
The winning Conservatives also spoke a lot about immigration, didn't they? So we've seen a whole shift to the right in this election. How much has that got to do with the success of Donald Trump's policies in America?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure your viewers noticed the quite high profile and for the German political establishment, shocking interventions by members of the Trump camp, including Elon Musk, and then at the Munich Security Conference, J.D. Vance, on behalf of the AfD, calling for an end to the firewall, and Musk saying that really the AfD was the only party that could, rescue Germany. Now, it didn't seem to have much of an impact on the polls. I mean, if you look at where they were at the end of December and then where they were last night, they landed on 21%, which is about where they had been, for months and months. That said, those interventions, which last night Friedrich Merz, the winner of last night's election, called them brazen, these interventions by Musk and Vance.
I think it's interesting, though, isn't it? You could see a slight separation between Musk and Trump on this issue, though, because Musk very clearly throwing himself behind the far right. Then we saw, and Trump hasn't done that, but Trump has thrown his support behind the Conservatives. So do you see different levels of extremity, really, between these two key players in America and how they've played into the German election?
Yeah, I wouldn't speak to that. I mean, I think that his message last night on Truth Social was quite ambiguous. He had said it was a great day for Germany, and I think you could read that either way. And I think many people here read that as support for the AfD, actually. But Friedrich Merz is the man he's going to have to be dealing with. Trump has threatened these punishing tariffs, and Germany and Europe is going to be hit hardest by them. And so I would expect, Merz to be able having those conversations with him.
OK. Deborah Cole in Berlin, thank you so much for joining us today.